Hi, fourth grade. Today we're going to be talking about the water on Earth and how much water is on Earth, and also how much of that water is actually accessible for human use. If you close your eyes and you picture a globe, you most likely are picturing a big round thing, right? With some green and brown spots and mostly covered in blue. And then when you think about it, you're like, oh, most of the Earth is covered in water. We've got plenty of water, right? And that's what a lot of people do think. But today we're going to talk about how a lot of that water is not actually accessible. Okay, so right here, we have this big jug. This right here is going to represent all the water on Earth. Okay, so we have all this water right here. However, bad news, guys. 97% of this is the ocean. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but the ocean is saltwater and you cannot drink it. You cannot really use it. It's not usable water. It's not something that we can use to brush our teeth and take showers and wash our clothes and drink, right? So 97% of this, not usable. So we're going to take a little tiny bit, about 3%. Okay, a little bit more. We're going to put our ocean water to the side. Now, this is all the water available on Earth. So now let's brainstorm. What is this comprised of? What did you learn about in the last thing that we talked about? Does anybody remember some of the things that makes up all this water, this little bit of water that's left? There's groundwater, right? We talked about that because the landfill's job is to protect the groundwater. There are lakes, there are rivers, there's water in the atmosphere, right? So there's fogs, there's fog, there's clouds. Now, if you think about it, there's a lot of that water that's unusable also. So we can't use any of the water in the atmosphere, and that takes up a little bit. So we're just going to pour a little bit out of there. Can't use any of the water in the atmosphere. That's unusable. 2% of this, which is a good amount, are ice caps and glaciers, and that water is frozen. So that's also not usable. So we have to pour a good amount of that out, 2%. So any water that's frozen is not usable. Then we have the water that is in the groundwater, but part of that water is actually contaminated with pollution. So we need to take out the water that's contaminated with pollution. We can't use that. We also have the water that is in lakes and seas. So by the time we get rid of all the pollution with that, we have a very little tiny amount of water left. So all the sources, the ice caps, some of the groundwater, the seas and the lakes and the atmosphere are not available. And all that's left is this little bit of water here at the bottom. So if you think about that, really, we don't really have an unlimited source of water. We have a very limited source of water. So we're going to talk about ways that we can conserve water, keeping in mind that even though it looks like the Earth might be covered in water, we really have a very little bit of it left.